All right, so quick story about this video. I'm going to be talking about perfectionism, and I recorded a almost 40-minute video on Tuesday right after my yoga practice, and I was all sweaty like this for a reason, and it didn't upload, and it also didn't save in my phone. So I'm going to try to recreate this. And I thought it was pretty ironic that a video about perfectionism didn't work, so I had another opportunity to perfect it. And then when I thought about the irony in that, I kind of laughed because I thought to myself, oh, harmony, that's what I've been talking about, or at least that's what I've been thinking about. Since Greg Braden has been my jam lately, not necessarily trying to get rid of these things that we don't like within ourselves. They are a part of us. And so learning how to harmonize with them instead. Not just trying to rid yourself of this, because then you would have a void, you would have an empty space, and you would have to essentially fill it with something, or it would be filled with something if you didn't pick what you were going to fill it with. And so it's probably a lot easier, oh my God, I'm still sweating, to just harmonize with what you got. It's there, and it's there to teach us something, many things. And so the sooner that we kind of do a dance with it and we harmonize with it and we accept that it is part of us and it's given us some good things and some bad things, the sooner that we can kind of come to peace, come to terms with these things. So here I go. Maybe this one won't be 40 minutes long and I'll get to my point a lot faster. We'll see, but here goes nothing. So yeah, perfectionism. I didn't realize that I have this, but yoga teacher training taught me otherwise. I realized where it comes from, and I grew up in a very athletic family, and we always had to be playing sports. We had to be doing something. You couldn't be doing nothing. And so I've tried many, many sports. Softball's our main sport, and I have a few sisters, one that in particular, she's a year older than me, so we were very close growing up, and she's just an incredible athlete, amazing. She's a college athlete, full ride, no student loan debt because softball paid her way through even grad school. So she's a kick-ass, and I was very shy, very quiet child, and that was just my nature. It didn't bother me very much, but I was always in her shadow, always. I knew that I would never be as good as her, and it didn't necessarily bother me, I didn't think back then, because I didn't ever strive to be, I didn't really care if I went to college for softball, I guess. I don't know. I didn't think about it. But I am realizing now that as an adult, I have, my own opportunity to excel in whatever I do, and my inner child doesn't want to feel left out or in the shadow like it was, I guess, feeling when I was a child. And so my perfectionism acts out in pretty much everything that I do today. As far as physical activities concerned, I don't ever want to be the worst at something. And particularly, I'd like to be the best. If I'm going to do something, I want to fucking do it. And I don't really want many people to be better than me. So that's how it plays out in my life today. And I recognize that. And so what I'm trying to do with that is to just, navigate through my life with it and have, listen to it when it's telling me that I can do something that I don't think I can, but also not listening to it when it's telling me to push past my rest bounds. Like it doesn't really let me rest or take it easy on myself. So when I find that I'm being too hard on myself, I kind of take a look at that, or at least that's what I'm beginning to do, and it's helping actually a little bit. So I will continue to do that, but if I'll talk about what perfectionism and stuff like that, so you guys can understand a little bit more about it instead of just like the generic idea of it. But as I talk, I would encourage you guys to consider where this plays out in your own lives, because just because we have it doesn't mean that it's present in everything that we do. It might be present in physical activities and not necessarily in, like intellectual conversations and other things that you do or that we do. So just because you have it in one area doesn't mean that you have it in all of the areas of your life. And most of the time, I would say, and I could be wrong about this, that it stems from childhood. Or maybe stemming from relationships that were very meaningful to you, where you maybe felt lesser than, or felt like there was a sense of competition, like covert competition going on, and you had to prove yourself to someone or something. But for me personally, mine came from childhood. And again, it's helped me to have motivation and drive to be better and to do better and to work hard. But it also is pretty relentless when it comes to being a berating parent in my mind. It doesn't ever let me rest. It doesn't ever let me just be in the moment. It just constantly is nitpicking every move that I make and every effort that I make to do something. It's constantly telling me, do this straighter, do this, put you're stronger than this, keep going, don't be a wuss, whatever. So yeah, enough about me. Let's talk about perfectionism. So so I'm going to read from my notes because I wrote quite a few notes. So a lot of people think that perfectionism is just about being perfect and a goody-goody and, la la la. And it's not necessarily about that. I wrote, there's no perfect definition, but it involves relentless striving for extremely high standards for yourself and for others, which is something that I do. I push other people to try to be their best. I feel like it's in their best interest, but maybe it's not. It's in my best interest. My perfectionism best interest. I just kind of realized that. The standards are personally demanding, and they're kind of, most of the time, they're pretty unreasonable given the circumstances. So we set these bars too high for ourselves and never really reach them. And, we have good intentions when we set them high because maybe that's, we're trying to motivate ourselves or that's a goal for us, but it's not necessarily the best thing to do if you're just starting out at something, or if you're just trying to learn something, or if this person's first, second, or third attempt trying this thing. You can't expect them to reach this bar that we set based on our own high standards. Judging your self-worth based largely on your ability to achieve such unrelenting standards. So if you set this bar here and you don't reach it, then do you call it a waste of time? It was worthless, or that was pointless. If so, you might be a perfectionist. And experiencing negative consequences of setting such demanding standards, yet continuing to go for them despite the huge costs, i.e. insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. That is what we call insanity. And so perfectionism is sort of a version of insanity, or at least it will drive you insane, right? If we have these unrelenting standards that we never quite reach, and then all we do is shame ourselves for being good for nothing. When we're the ones who put the bar up there in the first place. Maybe if we allowed ourselves to lower it to a reasonable level, we wouldn't shame ourselves so much for our attempts, because after we shame ourselves enough, we just stop trying. And then we chalk it up to, I'm just not good at that, or I just can't do that, or that's just not for me, or, I'm never doing that again, or we just get really mad at it, and we call it stupid, right? We start to talk poorly or badly about it, and kind of like, oh, well, that's, it's pointless. I don't know why anybody likes that stuff anyways. It's so stupid. It doesn't do anything for you, blah, blah, blah. Like, you ain't got to be mad at it just because you couldn't reach your own standard. Just put your bar down a little bit. And then there is the paradox of perfectionism, right? Which is exactly kind of what I was just talking about. That it's based in the idea that it's a helpful, like a standard that we set for ourselves, cause our own demise because we never quite reach the bar that we set for ourselves. And so we just keep ourselves stuck in this paradoxical situation that we have just created for ourselves based on our own standards of, what success is, or what commitment looks like, or motivation, or even an effort. Sometimes, people make an effort, and I know from personally myself, I look at it, if I think it's a weak sauce, I'm going to be like, you call that an attempt? Like, are you kidding me? Rude. So rude. But I do that shit to myself too. And I realize my perfectionism has me a very harsh critic of myself, and then it causes me to do that to other people. So I've been told by a couple people recently that my presence is kind of intimidating, because they feel like they're afraid to try something in front of me because I'll try to correct them or fix them, and they ain't lying. I'm fucking rude as hell trying to do that, because that's constantly what I'm doing for myself in my own mind. And I just have to kind of laugh at myself about it now, because if I decided to get mad at myself, I would just be doing the same exact thing I've always been doing, and that's getting irritated with myself for my own blocks, for my own roadblocks that I put there. If I put them there, I can take them away. So learn to laugh at yourself. You're in charge of whatever you're doing, the thoughts that you're thinking and the moves that you're making. So if you don't like what you've been doing, don't put yourself in the corner for it. Just remove the block that you put there for whatever reason you put it there. It was just as easy. It's just as easy to take it away as it is to put it there. I don't know about that. Maybe it sounds good, but maybe it's not that easy. No, it's actually probably not that easy, because the more that I try to take them away and just be in the moment, the more I feel that it's almost like a withdrawal effect of like, oh, I got to put it back there because that's what's comfortable for me. That's how I know I'm moving forward or progressing or trying or doing something, because I'm reaching for that, right? I'm not just like being in it and not giving a shit about the outcome. Well, that's what I want to get to. So, wow, that was a roundabout mouthful. Sorry if that was confusing, but that's what this shit sounds like. So if you guys sound like that too, high five. All right, what else did I write here? Yep, so what it kind of looks like, how am I a perfectionist? I wrote different examples of what it kind of looks like, because if you think about it, there's lots of different ways that perfectionism plays out, and I know that a lot of us might think of it just in sports or in school. Like we think of the person that gets straight A's that you want to cheat off all the time, or the varsity football player, the prom queen and king and la la la, like all these perfect pretty people, but it ain't like that. So, struggling to make decisions in a timely manner. Being a procrastinator, right? Because what we're doing essentially by doing that is trying to wait for the perfect solution or the perfect algorithm to kind of pop up and tell us that this is the path that we should be taking and this is the choice that we should be making, because all these pieces fit together and look how perfectly it fits and suits everybody, including ourselves. And I just don't believe that there is a one-size-fits-all solution like that. There's too many complexities within relationships and within, our own relationship with ourselves for us to have this one-stop shop of a solution, an end-all be-all answer that is good for everybody. And so, struggling to make decisions in a timely manner, that can go all the way from, deciding what paint color to paint something, your house or a wall or whatever, or, to all the way to can't decide what to wear to work for that day because, I want people to look at me like this, or I want this, or I want to be this, or this, or this. And we just have so many freaking demands that we put on ourselves for what? Like, just pick something and go for it. And if you don't like it, then go from there. But as long as you're just kind of like scrolling through your Rolodex of solutions without actually picking one, you're really just spinning in place. And that causes a lot of anxiety. And think about if you spun in place, yeah, it would make you feel dizzy, right? Feeling dizzy and having to move forward is kind of causes anxiety in of itself, just to think about that, right? You aren't going to try to focus so much on just going straight ahead, but you're so damn dizzy from spinning in place that you can't walk straight and you get frustrated. That makes sense to you guys? I hope so. That kind of made sense in my head. Reassurance seeking. Yes, asking others to check your work and ensure that it's acceptable because you can't decide for yourself if it's good enough. Maybe your unrelenting standards, you know, the bar that you put there, and maybe you even reached it, and then you thought to yourself, well, that was shit, that was too easy, like it must not have been so high, or let me maybe double check with other people to make sure that they think it's good too, because I do, but I want to make sure that everybody else knows it's good too, so I'm going to double check. Or it could be the opposite, you know, I don't think it's good, and because it doesn't, you know, suit my too high of standards. So I'm going to ask 1,000 other people what they think. And even if they tell you that they love it and you don't really love it, are you going to love it? Probably not. So it's up to you. That's the same way that, you know, people can't make you feel a certain way. If you don't feel a certain way and other people tell you, you know, you're this, you're this, you're this, you're this, it's up to you to decide whether you believe them or not, because if you don't believe it for yourself, you're not really going to feel it. So yeah, kind of self-explanatory. Excessive organizing and list making, excessively writing and rewriting the tasks you want to get done in the day so as to try to be as productive as possible, making sure that you feel accomplished for the day, right? I kind of do this sometimes so that I can stay on track. I wouldn't say it's excessive, but I do it, you know, to try to stay on track if I've got a lot going on that day and I want to make sure that, you know, I'm flowing in a productive direction. So that, I guess that would be me harmonizing with my perfectionism, because to me it would be self-sabotage if I didn't do it and I just kind of let myself willy-nilly through the day if I really had something important to get done and I knew I had to be on a schedule or on track. So that kind of goes both ways, I guess. All of these will go both ways, I guess, or every which way. Like I said in the beginning, harmonize with what you've got going on, not necessarily completely write off making lists forever just because they're a symptom of perfectionism. Like, just do what you got to do. Just don't get crazy about it, and don't, I guess, try not to base your self-worth on how many check marks you checked off of your to-do list for that day. Yeah, because that would be some pretty serious self-sabotage if your value, your self-worth and your value of yourself was determined based on how closely you stuck to your lists. That's a prison of the mind. Overly competitive, negative self-talk, struggling to make decisions, giving up easily. Yeah, something that I do not like, and I'm going to guess that a lot of people might share this with me, that I don't really like to do anything I'm not good at. Again, because I like to be not the worst at anything that I do, anything. And so I don't really do things that I'm not good at. I don't really try new things that are unfamiliar to me because I don't want to be bad at it. I don't want to feel like I don't know what I'm doing, which, right, gives me a sense of control, that I'm in control of something. But that's kind of what perfectionism is. It's like a covert addiction to control, or just another avenue of an addiction to control. Having all these things in place because they're under our control, and then we feel accomplished, or we feel productive, or we feel successful because look at all these things that I did, and look at all these things that I organized, and look how accomplished I am. I wonder what it would be like to base yourself, you know, your self-worth on how much you try, or how much you step out of your comfort zone, or how much we ask for help, how much we connect with others. I've never really considered that, so maybe I'll do that. Procrastinating. Oh, I already talked about that one. Yeah. putting off something for fear that it won't be good enough, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to go in depth about that. Not knowing when to stop. Yeah, arguing a point over and over long after others have lost interest. Trying to get your point across, trying to make everybody believe what you believe, trying to get everybody to see your point, even if, you know, they've said, let's agree to disagree, and you just kind of keep peppering it in there in hopes that, you know, you're going to say something that they're going to say, oh, now I get it. You just had to explain it to me for the 27th time, and now I get it. Thanks for, you know, not leaving me alone with that information. Our perfectionism wishes for that to happen, but it's probably not going to happen, and you'll probably just push people away, and then people get that, you know, that salty ass taste in their mouth about you, that they don't want to talk to you about these things anymore because they know that you're just a tyrant with your beliefs, and you don't really let people believe what they want to believe. You just bulldoze them with your beliefs, and you don't stop until they see it your way. And that includes having the last word in arguments. To let go. See what it's like to revel in your own belief and just be happy that you believe what you believe because it feels good for you. And if it doesn't feel good for you, then do something about it. Change it. And if you don't know how to change it, ask other people what they believe. And when you find something that you don't like, look at it. Because our enemies are our best teachers. What we don't like in someone else is just teaching us where we are unfamiliar with ourselves, where we are, unfamiliar with ourselves. And so we don't like things that we don't understand. We hate what we don't understand. And so if you're triggered by someone's beliefs, look at that within yourself. It's probably going to show you that you're pissed off that you can't control their thought process. That's usually what it shows me. Man, this sucks. Not really, because now I can do something about it, but because I just got to laugh at it, and I hope you guys can too. Because if you get down on yourself for these things, or you just make life harder for yourself because you're finding all these things that you didn't really want to find within yourself, you can't move out of your own body. So just hold hands with it, harmonize with it, get to know it so that you can do something about it. You can't do something about something that you're not acknowledging is there, right? That makes sense. Avoiding situations in which we may fail. Well, I repeated myself a lot on this. Okay, I already talked about that. Having the idea that nothing is ever good enough. You know, somebody gives you something and you've always got something to say about it, or you accomplish something and you've got something to say about, well, it's not quite this, or it's not that, or at least, blah, blah, blah. The grass is always greener on the other side kind of idea. I know you guys have probably heard the concept that the grass is greener where you water it, and that's the damn truth. If you can harmonize with whatever it is that you don't feel is serving your purpose, give some intention to it, give some energy and some thought and some love to it, and maybe it will start to feed you if you feed it. But if you're ignoring it because you just want it to wither away and die, it's not going to do that. It's going to stick around until it teaches you what you need to know so that you can level up in life and become more of a whole, compassionate person. Holy in whatever way you want to talk about it, think about it. I'm not always right. Making things harder than they have to be. Me. I do it all the damn time, especially in yoga. If I'm not struggling or sweating or dying, especially in physical activity things, I don't feel like I'm getting something out of it. So I'm constantly trying to twist a little deeper, or lock my legs out, or hold my arms straighter, or spread my fingers wider, and all this craziness that I'm just making it harder than it actually has to be, because I feel that physical stress is good for me. Oh my God, this sounds so uncomfortable to say. But yeah, if I'm not like dripping in sweat and exhausted by the time I'm done working out, I don't feel like it was good enough. And then I exhaust myself. And then I go through these waves of not wanting to push myself like that, but forcing myself to do it because that's how I should be if I want to get a good workout. So I will do my best to harmonize with that and just allow whatever my process is for that day to just be. And if I didn't sweat like a man, so be it. I still did something. That feels better to say. Yep, I do that all the damn time. And I also do it with like conversations and things like that. I'm constantly challenging people to expand their perception and think a little bit deeper about whatever they might be talking about to me, or, inferencing something. Have you ever thought about it like this? Or have you ever thought about it like this? I don't really just let things be as they are. Constantly looking for a deeper meaning. That's where my intellectualizing comes from, right? If my mind isn't doing mental gymnastics, then I don't feel like it's worth thinking or talking about. Ew. Okay, so I wrote that it's typically a learned defense to combat unrealistic demands set forth by our caregivers only wanting the best for us. So yeah, it's not that, my parents ever wanted me to be struggling with this when I was older, but, they have these standards that they set as the same reason that we set them for ourselves when we have, the ability to do so, that we want to be, we want to excel at things. We want to be maybe not the best, but probably not I don't ever think somebody does something to be the worst at something, right? Or to be terrible at something. I can't imagine that's why we do these things or anything in our life. So, it seems like a harmless concept at first, but when it becomes so ingrained in us that we can't really let go of it and live life just as it comes or as it is, and just be okay with whatever effort that we're giving for that day, good, bad, or indifferent, that's when it kind of becomes, a toxic issue. And if you've got any of this from childhood and you're realizing that maybe something like this comes from your parents, try not to be too mad at them for it. They probably were raised in a similar fashion, and they just wanted the best for you, and they thought that this was the way that it was going to happen, even if it didn't happen for them that way. Maybe their parents set too high standards for them, and they're going through the same thing that you are right now. Maybe they didn't really stop and think about it. So if you're stopping and thinking about it, first of all, thank yourself and forgive them. They didn't, I don't think they meant to fuck you up. And if they did, still forgive them, because if you realize it, right, now you can do something about it. And now you know what it's like on one side, and you can teach yourself about the other side. Forgiveness is for ourselves, not for anyone else. They don't care or feel different if we forgive them, but we do. We feel different. We feel a sense of relief if we forgive even ourselves for our own unrelenting demands that we set on ourselves. We kind of feel a sense of ease, like we can breathe a little bit easier when we forgive ourselves for getting in our own way, or for not being our biggest fan, or being like a dictator parent of some sort. Forgive yourself for that. And then when you forgive yourself, maybe you'll find it easier to forgive other people. So do it for you first. The idea that if you, and so I kind of wrote this down too, because I think this is a little bit more prevalent in society today. If you don't have high standards, you must not care enough. Maybe that's just my own thought. It definitely is my own thought, duh. But I don't know if anybody else feels that way. But yeah, I guess I kind of felt like that. Like if I didn't have any kind of like high standard for myself when I attempt to do something, then I must not care enough about what I'm doing. And so me setting a bar very high, as a means to achieve it, is me telling myself that I care enough about what I'm doing to put all my effort into it and try my damnedest to achieve my own, standard. And so if I don't do that and I just do something just to do something and just whatever is the outcome, then I guess I felt like I didn't care enough about what I was doing. If I wasn't just being like this helicopter parent, making sure that I'm giving it 110% all the time. Ew. Perfectionism can develop at any age. It doesn't necessarily just come from childhood. It can, like I said, come from even relationships that you're in, like in your teens and 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. If you have a partner that, is an overachiever, or just doesn't, is a perfectionist, for lack of a better word. Maybe you've learned those behaviors from them, or maybe they've influenced you to take on their perception so that you can belong in that relationship and you can feel worthy of their love, or of their time. Because if you're not doing what they're doing, then you must not care about them, or else you would be trying as hard as they are. That's pretty toxic. What else? Oh, repeatedly checking in the mirror for, facial issues, whatever. That more than ever now, I watch people open their phones or just look at their phone and they're looking at it like, chill out. Can you imagine what it would be like? Could you go a day without looking in the mirror? Could you get ready without looking in the mirror? I know for myself, when I thought about this, it's one of the reasons that I love camping so much, because I don't obviously not bring a mirror when I'm camping. And so you just kind of like lose sight of that egotistical part of yourself about, what does my hair look like? Do I have dirt on my face? Like, do I have black pepper in my teeth? Who fucking cares? What would it be like for you to not check the mirror 15, 25 times a day? Just maybe even try to go like half a day without it, or like 3 hours, or try to get ready not looking in the mirror. I don't know, challenge yourself. Because that is a very superficial, materialistic aspect of this, but that's exactly what perfectionism is. If we say that nobody or nothing is perfect, then why do we continue to believe that it's there? There is something that is the definition of perfection. I like to believe that practice makes progress, because if nothing's perfect, then why would we ever practice if practice makes perfect? If that's what you believe, practice makes perfect, but nothing's perfect, you're just like a hamster spinning on a wheel and you're not going anywhere, right? Just running in place. It's tiring. It's exhausting. Yeah. And when you exhaust yourself mentally, you exhaust yourself emotionally, and then you have nothing left for a physical life. And so you just can't drag yourself off the couch to do anything, to release any of that pent up, stagnant, ill energy that we've created based on our thoughts and our emotions. Yeah. So chill out, take it easy on yourself. Hoarding, keeping shit for a long time just in case you might need them, right? And that also kind of goes in hand with like wanting to be right and having all the answers. Like you've got everything, you've got something for everything. That also takes up a lot of energy, a lot of space, not just physical space, but mental and emotional head space. Because then you have to, the more that you have responsibility for it, the more that you have responsibility for, right? The more possessions that you have, the more you possess, the more these things possess you. That was part of something that we were learning about in yoga teacher training what you possess possesses you. Yeah, that's what it was. And, okay, so how to combat perfectionism. I wrote radical acceptance, i.e., trusting the process, allowing things to just unfold as they are and not worrying about what the outcome is, not being attached to what exactly it's going to look like, because we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Even if we do feel that we tried our best and everything went perfectly and smoothly, it might not end up the way that we pictured it. And if it doesn't, are we going to say that it's not good enough? Or are we able to say, well, it doesn't look like I imagined it, but it's still pretty fucking good? Great. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But radical acceptance to me would be the one and only answer to combat perfectionism, because that's what life is all about, not attaching to the outcomes, because we don't really know what the outcome is going to be. We can't control all the variables and all the complexities that are going to happen from point A to point D. So to just try to accept everything that's happening as, part of the plan and happening for you, not to you, that everything that happens along the way is just happening to teach us a little bit more about the subject and about ourselves and how we're handling things. And if you find yourself getting, discouraged from your path of, whatever it is you're trying to do, because it's not unfolding the way that you thought it was going to, there's too many hurdles, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to shy away and you're going to close the book on that and say that that was a waste of time and you're not going to attempt it anymore because you tried it once and it just wasn't what you thought it was going to be, so it's not for you? You might really be closing yourself off to learning a lot about yourself, something that is going to be very beneficial. And I can assure you that if we do that, these things will show up for us at a later time, because things are happening for us, not to us. So everything that's happening in our lives is happening for a reason, happening for us to learn how to become our best self, to level up, to learn the good, bad, and indifferent things about ourselves, and to be honest with whatever it is we've got going on, so that we can make a decision to, what to do with that, where to go with that. Do we want to try to write it off as if it's not a part of us and shame it and bury it? Or are we going to harmonize with it, get to know it, dance with it, and realize that it is part of us, and sometimes it helps us, but sometimes it doesn't. And the more that we spend time getting to know these things within ourselves, the more we'll know when to use it and when not to use it, if it's going to be helpful for us in this moment, or it's going to, just berate us in this moment and really discourage us from ever trying that thing again. I hope this made sense for you guys. If you heard anything here that you liked or you thought was helpful, or maybe you want to say to somebody else but you don't know how to say it, let me say it. I love having difficult conversations with people, so direct them to this. Again, thank you so much if you've watched this, and I hope it was helpful. Thanks.